morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another NerdTube Star Trek episode review. We are back with new episodes of Lower Decks Season 4, and we're here tonight to talk about a double header. It wouldn't be Star Trek on NerdTube if I weren't joined by my usual officers in arms. To my right is Zamario. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Doing great. Excited to talk about the episode. And below us is Cousin Cheeto. Good evening, sir.
Lower decks, lower
Lower
decks,
deck,
lower
lower
decks,
deck,
lower
lower
decks.
deck. That says it all. Um, all in all, I feel we we're gonna try a new format this week. We're gonna go ahead and start kind of talking about different aspects of the episodes, different, either breaking them down by the plot runners or just looking at aspects of the episodes and discuss it from there and move away from some of the more play by play and hopefully get move a little smoother and have more time to discuss things with the chat. That being said, we'll start off. I think it'd be best if we talk about just first one, move on, second one, move on, and then marks for both at the end. How does that sound, fellas?
Good.
Sounds good to me.
Let's
All
move
right.
on.
Awesome. So let's talk about overall thoughts on episode one. Um, I feel like it was a really strong episode and kind of your quintessential "this is what Lower Decks is" kind of episode. What did you think, Zam?
Well, first of all, it was really good to be back. That's what made me really happy. And I also have to say, I mean, I was kind of touched that we saw Voyager, and I also enjoyed the expansion of the Twovix episodes. Like they
Mm-hmm.
didn't just follow it beat for beat; they expanded what it can be and what it could be, and I very much enjoyed that as well. And progression of the characters too. There was character progression in
Yes.
this episode,
Yes.
and and I really liked it. There's so many subtle funny moments as well because we've now been 4 seasons in. You know, you can pick up on the jokes and certain characteristics of some of the supporting cast as well when they talk, when they're communicating with each other, and it all is. It's just such a good show, isn't it? Yeah, it's just so good to be back.
So
You know, this is
it's
this is a genius of a show, well written, and member berries and nostalgia is what makes this show work.
I mean, it's the, as Una put it, oddly specific references. Those member berries do work really well, but the show has so much of its own going on, and I feel like a lot of TV shows could take a lesson from how they handle character development. Um, we've really seen all four of our main lower deckers evolve over the course of the show, but and now they're going to be settling into their new roles and their new ranks. And so it feels like it's natural. It doesn't feel shocking or sudden. They've been working at this over the course of 4 seasons, and the development hasn't been limited to just one season. Oh, they had their plot arc, it's done, let's move on to somebody else. Instead, we've had all four of them steadily growing over the course of the first 3 seasons, and now they're continuing that strongly moving into season 4. And I feel like that's a major strength of this show. Um, Cheeto, what were
And we've
your
also
overall
added
impressions?
to the
Oh, sorry.
characters.
It
Um,
did.
so,
It did.
so we've also added to the characters with the Vulcan lady too. So
That's right. We've got she has joined
yeah,
their
that's it.
ranks, and maybe we'll continue to see some of the other lower deckers from abouts the other organizations that we saw in the episode that introduced her.
Not if you saw episode 2.
Yeah,
That means all three of them, yep, are accounted for now, huh? Yep,
Mhm.
the end of episode 1, and then yeah, nope. True.
Well, end of episode 1 and beginning
And
of
then
episode
begins
2. Yeah.
episode 2, yes, sir. But I guess we'll use that as a transition to finding out your overall impressions, Cheeto. What did you think of episode 1?
I thought it was great. It was, as Zam said, it was kind of your lower decks, well written member berry type Star Trek. Like, I mean, they took a lot of the tropes and funniness of, and even cringeable things about Voyager and turned it on his head. Even they did this last season with Deep Space Nine, when they visited Deep Space 9. So, and we all wondered how Voyager got to the Fleet Museum. So, although it didn't wind up in the Fleet Museum, though it is nice to kind of see a little bit of that connective tissue of, all right, Voyager's been refitted, and probably now there's going to be an exhibit on Earth for a while, and then it'll probably eventually end up in the Fleet Museum. So if we're talking about just episode 1, I mean, it was a good episode. Lots, as I said, lots of stuff going on. They did do a great job kind of bouncing between the two ships, I thought. I've always been a fan of the Intrepid class vessel. I always thought it was a slick looking ship. Just like the Prometheus class, although the Prometheus class was more of a warship, and the Voyager or the Intrepid class was more of a scout type vessel. Faster, sleeker, not as much armaments. But yeah, I mean, a little bit of the comeback of some of the Twovix and the microscopic entity that was laying dormant, the gel packs, like all that stuff was it was fun to see again. So look, I know Zam's ready to rub it in my face, but like I didn't dislike Voyager because of like I dislike Voyager because of some of the writing and some of the way the characters were done. So none of those characters were in this episode. So good.
No, they're all the references to Voyager are many and deep, and I think I liked the kind of the angle they took where they jabbed at how over the top and how kind of outrageous the threats on Voyager were, and then more especially the solutions on Voyager. I think it's a good spirited dig, but at one of the things that people usually gripe about that series, but it's an understandable thing. How do you keep continuing in that time frame when you've been doing Trek for so long in in that golden era on the air for so long in a row?
I mean, I don't feel like the Lower Decks is like I feel like it hit its stride early, and like I was kind of nervous going into the season, saying, are they going to like start losing their stride upcoming here soon? And it doesn't seem like it so far.
No.
And I mean, but that's because it's leaning into what the show is about. Like, so it's honoring Trek through funny not allegory, but like funny, is allegory the right word? Maybe, but like funny.
It's more of an homage, I would say.
Yeah, homage is the word I'm looking for. Like funny homages. So they leaned into what it's supposed to be, and it's paying off for them because it doesn't feel drawn out. By the way, I want to point out the whale probe in the intro. I laughed so hard when I saw that. I'm like, you know what? It's stupid, but it's Lower Decks, so I forgive it.
No, but you're absolutely right. They're not trying to change who they are. They're leaning into what the identity of the show is. And you're right. They fell into what they are very early on, and it's been a very solid start to the season. I feel like we can be optimistic for what we're gonna get moving down the line. So the first episode.
Sorry. Let's
We
get
got some stuff in the chat.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Daniel Vance says, want to be a new person, come to ME conversions where I transport a specialist will split or merge your biopattern into a completely new entity, Starbase 12, right next to the neutral zone. And yeah, I'm sorry for the delay. I was popping some pills. I struggled with this episode of Star Trek Rick and Morty. It is that, isn't it?
It is.
The show is so cliche. Vulcan Lower Deck has to be a Romulan spy. I was getting Sith vibes from the fucking Romulans, by the way. Hello everyone, and yeah, welcome Jim. And I watched and listened to Lower Decks a lot today. Yeah, double bill. I had no idea that we got a double bill today, so I was very happy. All right, let's continue.
Okay, so this episode was called Twovix, TWO. So Tuvix Part 2 here, and so obviously we're gonna have to address the alien in the room. Or nice, that's the Trek version of Elephant in the Room from now on. The alien in the room. Uh, they took a stance on the ethical question of the original Tuvix situation. So I think it's about time we had kind of our hash out of that here. But this
Yes.
the but no, it's a fun little episode where the Cerritos Bridge crew all kind of get Tuvixed after another transporter accident with the famed Orchid as they transport the ship back to Earth, and it kind of to act as a museum. Boimler saves an away team on Voyager from familiar faces such as the macrovirus and the Borg nanites um, after one gets assimilated. And, he is overthinking on an upcoming promotion. Got lots of deep Voyager refs to talk about. I'd say we've got the Tuvix
I
discussion.
want to say that I'm very happy that when it comes to promotion, Bowman is very aware that things fuck up all the time, and he happens to be in a lot of scenarios and situations. The self awareness of it, I really really liked. It wasn't pretending like these things don't happen, and like he's going to be going for another bumbling adventure where he's going to hope that he gets promoted, because as far as he's concerned, he should never get promoted because he's always fucking things up. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very happy with the self awareness. That for me was very important.
I,
Yes.
I I feel like the Strange New Worlds crossover put a lot of texture onto these characters. I don't know, I can't explain it, but I was thinking about it like while I was watching today, and I'm like, I feel like the Strange New Worlds episode really gave us that sense of realism that this is actually happening in Star Trek canon, because I've always considered Lower Decks loose canon. Like if it happens, yay, and then if it's never mentioned again, whatever. If it's and then there's just so many odd references, but I felt like that the crossover gave so much texture to these characters. Well, especially Blemler, I feel like more so than Tendi, but Blemler particularly has a lot more texture and a lot more realism to him.
You
Even
mean the Mariner,
huh?
not Tendi? You mean Mariner, not Tendi?
Oh, did I say Tendi? I meant Mariner. Sorry. I mean, they're all
Well,
women.
your
They all
fe-
look the same to me.
your theory on this being loose cannon is kind of now. It's hard to say that now with the
Yeah, it's shot to
crossover.
hell.
As I said,
Yeah,
I'm not. It's not a hill I'm willing to die on. I still think it's kind of loose cannon. As I said, I don't think that everything happens in Lower Decks is like 100% massive canon, like to the T. But as I said, if people are like, man, this is canon to the T, okay, then all that stuff that happened on Packlet happened. Okay, like Ransom is a douche. I mean, okay, like you know what I mean, like
Ransom is not a douche.
yeah,
Ransom
you
is not
gotta
a
admit.
douche. No, no, no. Ransom is no douche, dude.
Okay.
Ransom's a good guy. Yeah,
Okay.
he's
He's a guy with a big
he's
heart that
arrogant,
His
acts
but
character
douchey.
his character has grown, but
yeah,
you have to admit in the beginning he was a big douche. He had a pretty big head in season 2, like literally.
Good one. Good one. But no, this whole them getting promoted and Tindy's kind of look you know friendship with the new Vulcan ensign. That was kind of the third thing that I wanted to talk about, and that I thought it was a really nice touch that Boimler, like you said, he's so self-aware, and just the whole aspect of him being just nervous about this promotion and starts he probably wouldn't be messing up half of these situations he messes up early in the episode if he hadn't known about the promotion and wasn't that nervous about it.
yeah.
But it's him. He's being
I,
Boimler to the T. And I absolutely agree with you, Cheeto, about the point about the adding like the realism, especially to Boimler. Seeing we have a a human in a physical uniform kind of image in our head now that we can kind of supplant.
Mhm.
The identity, the concept of Boimler in our head, we can supplant the cartoon aspect with that, and it's arguably easier to identify with his emotional journey because we can think of him as a real easier, if that a more complete picture of Boimler in our head.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing I did want to bring up is the whole why was Blemler blamed for the macro virus being released? Because
He was
didn't
supposed to
Mariner,
be
yeah,
he
but
was
didn't
supposed to be
Mariner hit the
blocking the
wall?
door, and he runs and hides, and they fly out.
He ducked. I mean, I'm sorry if that thing's coming at me. I mean, I say expendable, but I'm ducking. I'm at least trying to avoid it. Like Mariner's the one who opened the thing, right? And then it
Yeah, she
flew
pulled it
out.
out even from behind the Nero gel pack.
Yeah, like I get it. Like it got, but as I said, if something like that's coming at me with a stinger, I'm ducking. It's not like he ran and hid; he just ducked. So I don't know. I do like the fact they brought up that everybody had been inoculated for the macrovirus though after Voyager got home. Like that was a nice little touch, and I'm like, good point.
No, anything about Voyager they handled
Everybody.
really well, and like kind of tied up ideas about it. You know how it's known what they went through since they came back to the Alpha Quadrant. I like that they kind of acknowledged that the Strange New Worlds episode happened.
Very brief, but yeah, they did acknowledge it.
I mean, I don't want them to. I mean, I don't want them to harp on it. I mean, maybe if there's a
No,
crossover
just
episode
once.
where, like, one of them
But
comes
it,
to the future for some reason, like, and then they do an
And
all
they're
animated
animated.
episode.
Yeah.
With like, but I don't
no,
want it
but
to be like the whole crew. I want it to be like just one or two of them.
no, but it's good to know in the timeline that it's happened. Like we're not second guessing. Oh, have they yet to go to the future, or to the past, to meet him or anything like that? We know it's happened, and
Yeah.
I think that's very good.
Yep.
So, what did you guys think of like kind of the typical sitcominess of Boimler not wanting the promotion kind of in the back of his mind, like he doesn't want to move up and lose like his friendship with Mariner versus like her encouragement and the revelation blah, at the end of the
Well,
episode that she kind of put the idea in Ransom's head.
couple of things, if you don't mind me starting with this. Um, for a start, it kind of shows you the growth of Boimler and Mariner, because in a way, all Boimler thought initially in the beginning of this series was to get promoted, join the Titan, all of that, whilst Mariner was trying to sabotage him. Now, Boimler doesn't want to get promoted, and Mariner is trying to encourage him. I mean, there is some serious, it has changed considerably in that particular sense, but in the sense that their friendship has grown so much because Boimler, he values his friendship with the lower decks crews and wants to remain with them, whilst Mariner, as his friend, wants him to succeed and wants him to get promoted. So it's I thought it was done very well, and I also just want to quickly also add regarding that new Vulcan girl. Her and Tendi kind of remind me of Wednesday Addams and that very eccentric girl from the Wednesday Addams television show. They've got that vibe. One has got no emotion. One is very emotional. I think that's what they're doing with them too. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. It'll be interesting to see how them two pan out.
Then why don't you hit some comments?
Yeah, okay, we'll do, mate.
Since you're
Let's have a look.
talking with your eyes closed.
Sorry, I'm just not feeling very well. I do apologize. I'm not falling asleep. I wish the Strange New World episode would have tempted lower decks instead of lower decks, leaning more into the insanity. Tempered, sorry, not tempered. Tempted. Tempered lower decks. I think they did.
Yeah, I
I think
also
they
feel,
did.
as I said, it feels a bit more texturalized. Like that's what I'm saying. Is like I feel like it's rubbed off enough on it that it like the crossover rubbed off on it enough that it was a little bit of like there's a little bit of goofiness on Strange New Worlds. There's a little bit more texture to Lower Decks. I mean, as well as the characters for sure, but like in general. I don't know. As I said, it's weird. And I was thinking about it while I was watching it, and I agree. I think they've kind of been a good influence on each other, in my opinion.
I
All
can
right,
kind of.
next comment. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say I can kind of see where Daniel Vance is coming from and kind of wanting it to be a little bit more serious, but I wouldn't want Lower Decks to kind of like forget what it like where it came from, what it is, and lose its identity as a show and kind of the zaniness of what they go through, is part of like the core of the show. And I mean, honestly, it's not any it's the same kind of stuff that happened on Voyager, like the exact same literal things, but
Mm-hmm.
the way they look at it is more lighthearted and zany. So it's not necessarily that the events themselves are any zanier than usual in Trek. So I mean, it's not like it's a wild, wacky Trek, except in kind of how it looks at those situations and kind of the solutions that it comes up with. But as they point out, theirs aren't that much more zany than ones we saw on actual serious Trek like Voyager.
Yeah, I agree. So, the next comment here is Jim. It was great to see USS Voyager again, bring back lots of Voyager memories. Yeah, definitely. This was a Voyager's greatest hits episode. Well, and even then, the funny thing is, I don't think they had all the greatest hits from Voyager in this episode, but they had some memorable hits.
A
That's
lot
for
of
sure.
holodeck
Especially with some of the,
things.
especially the holodeck thing, which I was dying. I was dying inside. It was so
Oh
funny.
my god, it was
Um,
great.
The guy, like, I miss my
My
wife.
wife! That I cackled.
All I heard was Janeway in my head saying, "Oh, she's delete the wife.
delete the wife. Yeah,
She hollow murdered her."
yeah, that's what she does. The show is too Venture Bro, Futurama, Archie, Rick and Morty, all of which I dislike. I want to like Lower Decks, I do. It's just too far in left field for me.
And I mean that
You will learn to
it's
like
not going to
Lower
be for
Decks, and you will
everybody.
appreciate it if it's the last thing I do.
No,
Um,
I mean, not everybody has to like everything, and it's fine if you don't like it. That's fine. I like it. I think it. But don't get me wrong. I like it because of what it is. But I like Strange New Worlds because of what it is. Like I like Discovery now for what it is, not for what it was before. Like everybody kind of has their preferences. But Prodigy, I did not get into. I was not, and I'm not saying it's shit. I'm not even saying it's like some people are like, oh, Prodigy's not Trek. No, it's Trek. It's absolutely Trek. It's just
oh,
not
Prodigy's
my cup
Trek.
of tea.
We've got so many more people come to the table to enjoy the banquet that is Star Trek now. It's good that we have like different flavors of dishes, so there's
Mm-hmm.
kind of something for everybody there. And
Mm.
and I love Lower Decks too, but absolutely, you don't have to love everything. And I can totally understand why you wouldn't like Lower Decks if those are things that you aren't, necessarily into those other shows you listed, Daniel. And I can respect that, but those
What
are
do you mean by
those are
this?
some of my favorites. So I think that
And
goes along. Like I've
remember,
always thought that stuff in Lower Decks.
it's always Alex Kurtzman's fault.
Oh,
Curse
everything
you,
is.
Alex
Oh,
Kurtzman!
Arr!
that's if we did a fusion and we
Yeah,
became one. Yeah.
I
We'll,
would. You know what?
we'll
I would
put
love
them
it if
both on
somebody
the
would.
same. Like put you both on the same tier at the start of one of the next episodes, and you guys can do the dance, and then we'll just merge the two windows into one.
I would
Yeah.
love it if somebody drew up a fusion of me and Zam, like with the either the pataras on or the vest, like the.
Oh, you should get chai pills on it.
That's true. I probably could. I would have to make
I'll
something
chip
though.
in for that. I'll chip in for that design.
Yeah.
I would like to see what our powers would be. Like, I mean,
Oh, I just
Extreme cynicism, like sick burns.
lots of anal references. Like
Yeah,
yes.
like just sophomoric jokes in general. Like
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
Disney
absolutely
wearing.
wearing
All right.
Yeah.
pant. Okay,
So Metamoran, it is.
Metamoran Fusion. Yep. So we can merge the outfits and make the Scant is the official outfit of Metamoran Star Trek Fusion. You got to get the vest going, but that's the Trek versions of the Starfleet scant. Cheeto, did you have anything you wanted to add kind of about that dichotomy and flip-flop of, Mariner and
No, I mean,
Boimler's
you
kind of
guys.
position on promotion?
Nope, you hit all of it. I mean, I do want to talk about the promotions really quick when you get to that, but I mean, I don't really have much to add on the dichotomy. I mean, you guys hit all the points on the
Yeah,
head.
okay, we can go ahead and talk about the actual promotions themselves and the promotion ceremony
Uh,
because there's a lot to unpack
I,
there.
I, I just want, I just want to say regarding, but I don't think we talked enough of the fusion itself of these different creatures, and I like the fact that when Shanks was speaking to what Billups and what was her face, I keep forgetting the name of the doctor.
To Anna.
Um,
To
yeah,
Anna.
so like them fused, and he mentioned something about what they do sexual wise and stuff like that. His face was hilarious because I think Billups is also a virgin as well. So if you remember, yeah, in that Virgin episode. So him keeping his virginity.
Technically, he's
Um,
still a virgin, but yeah, he's
yeah,
got the
technically,
memories of not being a virgin.
yeah, and stuff like that. I like the fact that they started merging with they got other characters to merge, which was hilarious, and then they all merged into one big blob, also hilarious as well. But we haven't spoken about yet. We said we were going to get on this about what Captain Janeway did was ethical or not.
Yes, yes. I was just gonna have the whole Twovixing of the crew and like our take on the ethics of it and their position on the ethics of it. I was gonna like talk about that
I
all in like a self-contained kind of segment.
I honestly don't feel like
Okay.
they leaned into that enough.
No, they could have done so much more. They just made a couple of jokes, but it was consistent. It was a hard line position, but it's so great. It's a meme and a quagmire in our
Oh yeah,
fandom, and just it was great that they took a stance on it, even if it kind of is a trolling hardline stance.
Yeah.
But we'll get there in
Okay.
just a minute, I promise you.
Okay. Well, regarding the promotions, um, yeah, I was very happy that they didn't they didn't kind of like make it more of a mystery than it had to be regarding Boimler. He was the first one to get promoted, and we saw the reason why because of what he did when he was on Voyager, which was really cleverly done. So I like that fact. And people, you going on about Ransom being an asshole. I didn't see any of that. I genuinely didn't see any of that. Not in this episode, and not in the second episode when we talk about it as well. So yeah, um, I'm very happy that Boimler got his promotion. He deserved it. They all deserve it.
Agreed. I'm glad to see them get their promotion. I mean, we're in they've had 3 years on the Cerritos of serving, and they've served with distinction. They've been goofballs, but when it push comes to shove, if they get things done, they've saved the day. And it would
Yeah.
be kind of goofy and kind of Simpsons like if they stayed the same age and they never got promoted. They're perennially like say in fourth grade, like South Park. And uh,
And the Simpsons, they like fucking
the Bart
Maggie's
and
never
Lisa have been
fucking
the
grown
same.
up.
They've been the same age for friggin' ever. It would be weird, and I'm glad they kind of didn't go that route, and
Mr.
we're seeing
Burns,
them evolve. Yes, Mr. Burns is
Mr.
still
Burns never recognizes Homer, and Homer is just a regular dude who's done nearly everything a human being could even imagine doing. Like he's been into space and everything. He's done so fucking much in his life, and yet somehow he's just a normal dude. He's an
but
everyman. It's just so ridiculous.
yeah, but we like the promotions, but I guarantee you there's folks out there who are gonna be so mad. They shouldn't be promoted. They're not lower deckers anymore if they're not in ensigns and they don't sleep downstairs. But I think they did a good job of kind of handling that in like the conversation they had at the end of this episode where they say they'll still, they're still lower deckers. They're on, there's still no recognition, no perks other than, you know, an actual room with a door. But that we'll get into next episode. But no, I agree with you about the promotions. And how do you feel about this whole thing, Cheeto?
I mean, it because last season I was saying, like, if they're going to lean into the Simpsons of it all, that's exactly the point I used last season. Was I kind of didn't want them to get promoted if they were going to do this whole Simpsons, like, like whatever, they're going to be ensigns forever. But I think that's another thing that really has contextualized this show, into canon, is the fact that they are getting promoted. So as I said, I mean, the loose cannon thing is a preference. It's not like I think it's a reality. You know what I mean? Like, and as I said, the further we get away, like the promotions definitely, because I was sitting there after 3 years going, why aren't these guys at least lieutenant junior grade? So I'm glad they took care of that at the beginning of this season. So
Yeah, at the beginning, which is good.
not at the
Not
end.
the end, the beginning. Yeah.
Somewhere for them to go still, maybe see another promotion before the end of the series.
How did the Vulcan, I cannot remember her name, the Vulcan, why did she get a promotion already? Like, was it just because of the actions on
she would probably had an equivalent rank to, and they maybe took into consideration her time serving the high command in the Vulcan fleet. She might have been an equivalent, like, to lieutenant junior grade rank when she got kicked out of the high command and wound up in Starfleet. So that could be a consideration they made.
Yeah.
But I think it's just mainly to keep her there and, like, keep pace with our established lower deckers and try to integrate her into that kind of clique more quickly.
Felt bad for Rutherford.
Plot convenience.
I felt bad for Rutherford. I know they cleaned it
I
up the
did
next
too.
episode, but I'm like, at the end, I'm like, what? Rutherford's done so much.
I was like, poor Rutherford. My wife was like, poor Rutherford. Like, this one was.
I was the only one who didn't.
Sat there and enjoyed it. She hates lower decks.
Really?
I'm glad,
yeah.
Regarding the Rutherford thing, I'm glad in the way, like, the fact that all of them would get promoted at the same time would be very tacky. So it was good that they didn't.
Good point.
So.
Well, then they should have. I mean, but they also addressed that with Rutherford refusing promotions. Like he even said, I could have been promoted before any. Well, I don't know any. I think Bremler technically got promoted originally to the Titan, and that's one of the things that made me think that Lower Decks is loose cannon, because the whole transporter twin, and then one got then they got promoted, then one stayed on the Titan, the other one stayed.
Yeah, but
and then he got demoted when
that.
he went back. It just didn't make any sense why they would demote him back to ensign when he went back to ensign when he went back to the Cerritos. That was one of my big things about the whole loose cannon thing, because that frustrated me so bad. I had to make my own headcanon to make it right.
He might have asked for demotion. That way he could be on the same tier, on the same even pegging with his friends again.
Yeah, I mean, but even in season 1, like this was the beginning of season 2.
Season 2, he was still so obsessed with climbing the ranks. Still, he hadn't really started to grow as much yet.
As I said, it's not a hill I'm willing to die on, but it's a journey for me. Lower Decks is a journey of self-discovery.
That was a good
Fair
point.
Enough.
And so the last kind of thing in this vein, this aspect of this episode's plot to talk about, kind of Daniel Vance got to in the comments I'm seeing on my screen.
Let me get into the comments. Please be wearing the scant.
Yeah, that's the fusion.
When you guys fuse your fusion design.
It's a Metamoran outfit.
No, he means the skirt uniform thing.
Oh,
He wants you guys to be, that's your uniform for your fusion, but that's the Trek version of the Metamoran vest. And
it's going to be
a Metamormon's vest. All right. They do believe in like some sort of planetary thing, don't they? Anyway, the best part of the episode for me was the introduction of the Klingon ship. The moment we clearly seen the Klingon wearing a towel.
They were just mirroring the Lower Decks, like, the because there's always that guy walking around with the towel in the Lower Deckers like hallway.
Okay, the ship that destroyed the Klingon ship at the end felt very TNG Tin Man to me. The light as it powered up weapons was blue, unlike the Tin Man's red lights. Okie dokie.
So yeah, we
Um,
have the mysterious new threat introduced at the end of the episode. I kind of got it the way it tilted up and had like the oval shape. It makes me think of Boba Fett's ship, the Slave One.
oh yeah, yeah, I
It made me
agree.
think of White Vision because like the little gem when it. I mean, I know it's
Yeah,
not Marvel, but like just that's what the inkling I got, and then it had
fingers
like
looks
the
like
tipped up and the little gem fired, and I'm like, it reminds me of White Vision.
yeah, it's almost
I
got
had
like a face going on. Go ahead,
I
Sam.
had no opinion on this. I had no opinion on this, but I did watch Jessie Gender's review on this episode, and she did come up with a theory that does seem to be pretty good. And even though the is it the Matlax, what they call those dumb aliens, the
Packlet.
Packlet?
Matlax, Packlids, sorry, Maclads, the Packlids. Yeah, even though they seem to be the more like the alien creature that tends to be the main enemy for the lower decks. What Jesse Gender also said was that AI seems to be a big enemy of lower decks. So you had that Jeffrey Coombs robot, you had that floaty robot as well, which Tindy was
Peanut
friends
hamper.
with, and yeah, Peanut Hamper. You've
And
had
then the drone
Badgie
ship.
as Badgie as well, the drone ship. Yeah, there's a lot of AI, and
Well,
so
they're
that
all in the trailer
basically that
too. So
and yeah, and so that I haven't seen the trailer. Funnily enough, I'm glad I haven't. But
Me too.
that ship could be like the combination of all the AIs getting together, and maybe being the big bad of this season.
Hmm, interesting theory. Um, no, I think it's kind of cool that they're doing an overarching kind of big bad and overarching threat for the season on top of, just season long and then continuing into the next season, just continual character development for all of our cast.
Well,
But
they did a
it's
great job with Rutherford, regarding him and his memories and stuff like
mhm,
that. The way they portrayed that, and
that whole
they've
season
done
3
they
arc was great. Yeah.
Star Trek recently, they've got the balance right of keeping things serialized, but also making it episode of the week. Yeah,
Yes.
the balance that's done really well.
Just want to
Strange
see
New
that.
Worlds does it
Absolutely.
really well.
Hmm.
And so does this. But even with the first season of Lower Decks, they had that. No, nobody knew that Mariner's mum was the captain sort of thing going on, which was like the whole season of Lower Decks first season. So yeah,
But
they
it's
do
not.
do it pretty well.
They do it well because it's there just about every episode, but just a tiny bit instead of
Yeah,
there's a couple of episodes that have no bearing on this overarching thing for the season. Then there's one episode that's all about that. And then another couple of what end up
yeah,
being filler episodes, and then another one that's all about that. I feel like it's
yeah,
better and more organic the way Lower Decks do it, and to a lesser extent, Strange New Worlds is trying to do that.
yeah. I
Um,
agree.
all right, Cheeto, any thoughts or feelings about this new threat at the end and just us having an overarching plot for the season?
we'll see where it goes. I mean,
We'll see where it
I'm not.
goes.
Yeah,
All
not
right.
not trying to prolong. I agree. Just I want to see where it goes. I agree with you. It might be the AIs.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
possible for sure. So yeah, let's talk about the alien elephant in the room, Tuvix. I don't think we've ever had this chat even amongst ourselves in private. The one, arguably the biggest moral quagmire in all of Trek, and they have
really.
done it here
Oh
on
yeah,
Lower
it's always a
Decks.
hot topic,
It
especially on the
it
shit posting. Holy
yeah, no,
crap!
they like people lock that down in groups as like a topic you can't meme on, even you can't like discuss it because
You
people
can't
can't
meme on it.
discuss it. Like, yeah, there's no
Oh,
more
People
jeez.
people getting arguments worse
arguments, like
than
hardcore, like
Like it
making
makes the fight
personal
that I had with
attacks.
somebody that Buhan was stronger than Kid Buu. Like
That guy, oh my god. Oh, I had my imaginary popcorn out for that whole thread. That
I
was
was
great.
waiting for him.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's worse than that, and that was a pretty big fight.
No, so, they've kind of they took the meme approach to have how they handled what they thought of the Janeway solution to the original Tuvix situation and called her a straight up murderer.
Later, Daniel
Um,
Vance. Yes,
See you
Jedi.
later, Daniel Vance.
so, uh,
I'm gonna
are
put
we gonna
the.
weigh in on it? Do we have an opinion? Either of
Yes,
you?
yes, I
Okay.
do. I do, but I want to hear Cheetos first.
I'm going to put the poll in for episode 1 in the chat, so Daniel Vance can hit it up before he leaves if he hasn't left already. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. The whole Tuvix thing is like, did technically Janeway murder him? Yes, but like, was it also a accident? Yes. So it's kind of it's honestly it's a very gray area. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
There's
which way I would go. If I do not envy Janeway. I don't. That's not even one of the things that I blame Janeway for being a war criminal. You know what I mean? Like so. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which way I would go. I truly and honestly don't. If I was put in that position,
it's a moral gray area with that's like ambiguous. There's no clear cut
it's
answer either way, and so that's what makes it so great. That's what's great about Trek, that they're not afraid to make us look at
yeah.
situations like that and ask ourselves the hard questions.
Voyager had some bad episodes, but Tuvix was not one of them.
Oh no, that was
Yeah,
one of its finest moments.
yeah,
That
absolutely.
and
It was one of the
episodes that
best episodes of Trek, in my opinion.
though yeah, no, it's the as far as the moral quagmire, ethical questions type episodes go, I'd say it's their second best, surpassed only by Similitude. Um,
Okay,
you,
so
Sam, how do you feel about it? Is Janeway a murderer, or
I
can she do no wrong in your eyes?
look. People can call her a murderer if they want to. That makes no difference to me. I think Janeway had no choice but to do what she had to do. If it wasn't possible to bring back Neelix and Tuvok, then fair enough. But it was, you know, and and it's not like like the act that they did. I can't. I will never know because it's all fictional. But it's not like they ripped him apart or anything like that. They dissected his body. they they did a procedure on in the transporter. It probably it could be painless, and in a way, is he really being killed? I mean, his characteristics are going back into two different individuals again, which is where they originally come from, and as far as I'm concerned as well, Neelix and Tuvok came first. Their right is 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 way more important. Tuvix is not created, without them, and them two never wanted to create Tuvix in the first place. And it's unfortunate, very unfortunate, but it, it's the only thing I could think of. I mean, you are able to bring two people back. Yeah, if they weren't able to bring them back, then I wouldn't even consider doing it. The fact that they could, I have no problems with it. And as long as the procedure wasn't painful, I definitely don't have any problems with it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I've got two things that I want to add in because I see both points of view, and but I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate. Um,
Mage is gonna
eh,
rock our worlds.
okay, I think I've come up with a in-universe lore like way you could avoid it even being a problem. Make a Tuvix transporter clone. You have two Tuvixes now, right?
No, you have a problem because that. What about that clone? That
You
clone
then
might
you
want to fucking
then
live.
you separate that clone out. You've got a Tuvix, you've got Neelix, and you've got Tuvok. Problem
No, but
solved.
no, because if you're willing to, if you think one Tuvix is it shouldn't be killed, yeah, to
I
make
don't think he should be
to
killed at all. I think that I don't. I think that you're right. The right for the pre-existing, entities to continue
exactly.
to exist is, the needs. You can go
So
Vulcan logic with it. Needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the
so by
one.
creating by creating another Tuvix, you're basically saying you're expendable, but you're not.
I don't see how it's saying that at all. It's a
Because
way
you're saying,
to
okay, because this other Tuvix, the second Tuvix, will have a person, will have memories,
okay. I
a
see what you're
mind,
saying. Of being
opinions.
Tuvix,
Yeah.
and
So
he might not want to cease being Tuvix either. I see what
yeah,
you're saying.
yeah, exactly. So you're basically you're letting one live and you're letting one die. And I don't know how that could be a solution personally.
There was no good solution to this problem. I think that's the point. Somebody had to make the hard choice, and unfortunately, Janeway did. Well, unfortunately for her,
Yeah.
that's what I'm there. This goes back to the Superman Zod thing. In a no-win scenario, like what do? You can't do a Jim Kirk. You can't cheat the parameters when it's real life. You can cheat a simulation, but it's like Superman and Zod. Everyone's like, "Oh, Superman killed Zod." Yeah, well, it's either Superman killed Zod, or Zod kills those people. Period. So there is a time in a superior officer and or somebody in command of authority's life where they have to make the hard choice, and sometimes nobody wins.
Yeah,
Well said.
I'm just saying
You,
I'm just saying regarding Major's way of doing things. I don't think that's a better way. I think you might make a
I,
clone
the
just to split
transporter
that in
clone though
half.
then technically would have his own life too. I do
Yeah,
disagree
you
with you,
Yeah,
don't.
Cade.
You just pass the buck. I see what you guys are saying. I
Yeah,
didn't
and
like, but
yeah.
so
I sometimes I get to like what I think is the conclusion of a thought experiment, and I don't take it another step or two where it might need to, and then somebody hits me with that. I'm like, oh yeah, no, you're right.
yeah,
You're absolutely
because
right.
technically William Riker,
Right.
Thomas Riker, but they're still separate entities. They're still their own thing. They're still both their own thing. So obviously Blumler has his
Clone out there
transporter
too.
clone. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't feel like that. I agree with Zam in the fact that that is not a good solution. But yeah, they're everybody lost in the Tuvix situation. That's the point of the episode. Everybody lost. Everybody had a good friend in Tuvix, but they were also missing their friend Tuvok and Neelix.
And
They both had Well, yeah, I mean Neelix technically had family. Tuvok had a family back in the Alpha Quadrant. Like, if you keep them together or if you separate them, it's lose lose.
and as the Vulcans say, the needs of the many outdo the needs of the few. Tuvix is one, and Neelix and Tuvok are two, and they are the many to the few.
They've
Come on,
So
broken that.
damn it,
They've
simple
broken that
math.
logic sometimes too, though. I mean,
yeah,
they
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just going by the logic regardless. That in that way it definitely applies. So
I've been a tutor before. Can confirm two is greater than one. Um,
yeah, that's
so
that's how I feel about it.
So I think that's about all I've got for this episode. Would you guys like to any like final thoughts about this one you'd like to add before we start discussing episode 2, and then we'll come back and give our own marks at the end. Unless you guys just want to
Back
go ahead and
back
mark this one now and be done and dusted with it.
No, let's mark it now and be done and dusted.
Okay, sounds
lower
good.
decks, lower decks back with a vengeance. I know you mentioned there were no staff no cast members in there, but the Voyager itself was the star, and the throwback to previous things was what made this episode. It wasn't to do with ex crew members, so I'm very happy. And plus, nobody wants Robert Beltrain back anyway. So,
Filthy scab.
so yeah, exactly. So this was very very well done. I've given it Excuse me, an 8 out of 10.
Very nice, cousin Cheeto.
I agree. 8 out of 10. As I said, a very good, solid start to the fourth season of Strange New World, Strange New Decks. How about that?
Strange new decks, hell yeah.
No, a very solid start. I'm very happy. As I said, I mean, I didn't mind. Like I knew Zam in our chat earlier was saying, so I can't wait to rub it in Cheeto's face. I'm like, I like the episode. The issue was never Voyager as a ship, or even some of the shenanigans they got in. So no, 8 out of 10. Good job.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I feel like this, is a perfect way to start season 4. Uh, not forgetting who they are, embracing who they are as a show, but also moving forward with great character development. Just quintessential Lower Decks episode. I'm going to give it a 9 of 10. So
High
that was
praise from the
I,
Major Ray.
I don't give 9s very often either. And I mean, I think I've noticed a pattern. I probably have the highest aggregate marks for this show of anything that we review. But yeah, that was episode 1, Twovix. But we had a double feature this week of Lower Decks. Season
Yeah,
4,
we were sure
episode
spoiled.
2 was immediately available for streaming. It was called I Have No Bones, Yet I Must Flee.
I actually thought this was a reference on Leonard McCoy, but that wasn't the case.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, I could see why you think that. I have no idea where they're going with that, but I can see why they would mention Bones, given, the threat of this episode, in which, Mariner tries to self-sabotage herself back to Ensign, as she ransom and a red shirt named Ensign Gary evade a bone-eating cutesy creature that only says its name, the newest Pokemon, Moopy.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but Lieutenant Gary was a member of Voyager as well. There was a Lieutenant Gary on Voyager. He was one of the engineering guys, and I thought this guy could be a relative of that Lieutenant Gary.
That was
but
Carrie.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
Carrie.
Carrie.
Yes.
Oh, it sounded like Gary here. Okay, fair enough. Okay, Jim. By the way, Jim gave episode 1 a 9. No 10, which is shocking. But fair enough.
For real.
Yeah.
But they go to this menagerie station to pick up 2 humans who've been accidentally captured. Meanwhile, Boimler struggles to find acceptable new quarters. Shax deals with his relationship woes with Dr. Ta'ana, and Rutherford tries to earn a promotion to catch up with his friends, only to be constantly one-upped by new blood in engineering. For this one, I thought we'd just kind of break it down by the different plot runners. There seem to be kind of 3.5. There, 4 different ones, but the third and fourth being Boimler and Shax's things kind of intersecting more than they diverge. But we have a main Mariner A plot and the Rutherford B plot. Sound like a good way to go about it, fellas?
Yeah, fair enough.
Right. We'll break it down into those categories after we do kind of some overall thoughts of the episode. Start with you this time, Cheeto. What'd you think of this episode?
I thought it was good, not as good as the first episode, but I mean, it was nice to see where the lower deckers were kind of going after they got their promotions, their rooms. Rutherford in this whole trying to do something to outdo this other. It felt forced to me.
It's very sitcom-y.
Yeah, and even though he knew that he could get it, he knew that he was owed a promotion, and it really dumbed down Rutherford for me. I always liked Rutherford because he's the lovable idiot, but now he just seems like in this episode he just seemed like an idiot. You know what I mean?
I think it would be out of character for him to be presumptuous enough to think that he could pass down a promotion in the past and then walk up to Billups and be like, "Hey, remember that time I saved everyone? Yeah, could I get promoted now so I'm at the same level
Well,
with
no,
my
but he was
friends?"
offered promotions. Like it
And had
wasn't like
turned
he,
them down.
yeah, and he turned them
So
down.
to come back now would be like turning your nose up at somebody then coming out later with your hand out asking for something for free.
Yeah. Well,
So he felt like he needs to earn it again, and he's
or he
used
could have
to.
just walked up to Billups and been like, "Hey, I'd like to throw my hat," and I'd say, "Hey, you know what? I know this guy's also trying to go for a promotion, so I would like to put my hat in. Like this time, if you offer me a promotion, I will take it."
Yep,
So,
open,
and then
honest.
leave it in their hands. So,
Yep,
like,
but open, honest communication is the number one enemy of not only relationships but sitcom plots. If
yeah,
you
that
had
is
those, you'd
true.
never have. If you had that on sitcoms, you'd never have any conflict or a plot. And
Is
so,
it also this episode? I knew that the humans were the ones who let the little Pokemon out. Like, I could tell at the very beginning, like after Mariner like did that, and just looking at the humans, like it just was so hinted at that it just felt telegraphed.
yeah,
So
the whole mistrusting each other in that situation, that felt forced and also very tropey, and I don't feel like that aspect worked at all
yeah,
either. Um, Zam, what were your impressions of this episode?
I felt that Lieutenant Carey felt like a poor man's Boimler fill-in um, throughout the museum thing, and I kind of felt like we've been through several destructive museums now. It seems to be a common occurrence in lower decks. The
Well, this
Museum
is
of
a
Doom.
menagerie, and not. I can see. I mean, it's an animal museum for sure. I can,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
they're
But
bit.
it's similar vibe.
Menageries are just as common as the museum trope in Trek. So I think it was funny that they had that for the setting, but it is very reminiscent of the episode with Ransom, Keyshawn, and I want to say it was Boimler and Mariner down there in that episode with them when they were
Yep.
stuck in that museum. I can see how you feel like this one is a little derivative.
Obviously, once again, we have Mariner trying to get demoted. We've been there, but this was done a little bit differently in a way, and hopefully that'll bring closure to that as well, because it's a stupid trope that needs to now be in the history of lower decks going forward, in my
Agreed.
opinion. Yeah.
And it
yeah.
So
feels like
If
they
they
put a
keep,
bow on it at the end. So
yeah,
hopefully
if
that
they
is
go
done and
back to this
dusted.
well again, I mean, it's just not good storytelling at that point.
No, it'd be beating a horse that
and
died a couple episodes ago.
and regarding Mariner and Ransom, the will they won't they is still playing, in my opinion, because there is some sexual tension between the two of them. Without a doubt.
I
And
it,
I do not want that whatsoever.
I don't want that. I hope they go in the direction that I kind of got a vibe at the end of the episode, like it might go a mentor kind of relationship,
well,
you
I
like a
think I
protege
was it.
and sort of thing. Which I'd be
Look,
okay with that, but I don't want them shipped.
I think everything deserves time to evolve. Yeah, maybe at this stage of the season, of this stage of the show, you wouldn't want something like a relationship between the two of them to hamper where we go forward as a show. But at the same time, it's a relationship that doesn't necessarily have to work out. They could have a fling and then put it behind them. These things do happen. I've been part of it. I've known other people to be part of one night stands
Yeah,
and
that's
flings and
inappropriate
realize that this
though,
is not
being
going
the
to work.
superior officer, like in her direct superior. It's not even like they work in different departments. Like they're both in the
They
command
are,
structure.
they are, they are, they are consenting adults, and there's nothing saying that that
No, there is
he is
something saying
actually.
about being with your superior officer, like your direct supervisor. There is. It's been addressed in episodes.
No, I do agree, but I just feel that I don't look at Ransom as somebody who's sleazy in that sense. He's confident, but I don't look at him as sleazy, and I think over the seasons that their relationship might build over time, but whether it pans out, like Chapel and Spock's, is another thing. So all I'm saying, like it might be just a quick fling, and then they put it behind them, and realize it was never going to happen, or they could pan it out and make it like Riker and Troy.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it could go either
just seems
direction.
sitcom-y, and I don't want it.
Yeah, I'm right there with
We
Cheeto.
saw how the Chapel
I
thing worked
don't
out. Like
want
it
it.
literally happened for like an episode or two. They've been building over like the whole season and a half for it, and it's like it just
That
went in
Tons of
flutter.
that is
investment for no
bad.
payoff. Tons of investment
Yeah,
for
that's
no
probably
payoff.
bad writing because their relationship ended the moment it fucking started.
Yeah, because
It was
Chapel got what she
ending
wanted and buggered off at that point.
exactly. So um, but yeah, I mean, we'll see how things pan out in the future. But you can definitely feel that there is something between the two of them, without a doubt. They're bickering, constant bickering, just adds more potential romance, in my opinion.
I can,
So
yeah, I,
we'll see how it goes.
we'll see where they go with it. I hope they don't go there though. Um, so yeah, the Mariner plot was all revolving around her trying to self-sabotage her promotion and get demoted, but kind of started with that, scene where she overhears
She go.
Ransom saying, won't be my problem. By the end, we find out that he just means he's not going to fall for her bait. He's figured out her tricks and what she does to get demoted. Like he
Dude,
sees it.
him and Shanks are doing the fucking stretches.
Stretches like Beverly, Indiana, down
Yeah,
to the
like
outfit and
you.
everything. I love it. I
Yeah.
loved it. I
But see,
That's
died laughing.
so
that's
funny.
kind of some of the stuff right there that I'm just like, and they're wearing the outfits. Like, really, like that's what makes me make this feel like cartoony. And as I said, as a loose cannon parody comedy, fine, it doesn't bug me at all. But it's just like, if you're gonna sit here and tell me that this is canon and this is what they're doing, I'm like, that's where I'm like, this it just it's the satiricalness is just kind of overtaking that texture that I was feeling originally.
To a degree, Cheeto, I agree with you. What I would have done is that yes, I would have done the stretches, and I would have made them wear outfits that resembles
Yes, I
those
agree.
outfits they wore, but without not full on because basically Ransom's wearing a lady's sports outfit, when he could just be wearing something that looks similar to what Beverly Crusher wore, and who's the other person? Troy.
Yeah, it was
Was it
Troy,
Deanna
but
Troy?
I mean,
Yeah,
but
Beverly and
Okay.
Troy.
So, yeah,
but you kind of
so
lose a lot
just
of like
yeah.
the social commentary that they're making about that scene if you take away the fact that the costumes are identical. I think they were trying to say something about the ridiculousness of them having to be in those outfits to begin with back
Yeah,
then.
but those are like ladies' outfits. So yes, they look a little
Yeah,
bit
but,
ridiculous, but they they still could wear they could wear those. Like, for two guys to be wearing those out, like if they had a male version of that outfit, like, I mean, and look, I'm not saying what people should and shouldn't wear, but I'm just saying I don't feel like Ransom and Shax would wear that. That's basically what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people out there though that don't feel like Deanna and Beverly would wear those outfits either and say,
and
well, they would
you
go
are
work out in sweats.
that's what I'm saying. Like, but Beverly and Deanna could wear those outfits without too much of
Yes,
an
it's
issue. Well,
not
you're right.
as
Do I
ridiculous.
feel like they would wear those outfits? I don't know. Deanna might, but I don't. You're
Because
right about Crusher. I don't know about her.
because for most Star Trek fans, you're giving us enough for us to know what you're harkening back to without copying it. Fucking making it a carbon copy is ridiculous. Just make them do
Right.
the
That
stretches,
that's
make them
why
wear
I think
similar outfits which are more in line with who they are gender wise, and that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's all you have to do. But no, they had to go the whole fucking hog.
yeah,
It just it
I
ended up
think
being yeah.
that yeah, I think to make that point, I don't see why they would go that whole hog otherwise unless they were trying like it's a pointed statement about Burmanisms. Um but no, the things escalate on the the menagerie space station with the Moopsie getting released, as it turns out, very obviously by the imprisoned humans
You knew it
and
could be a
a ruse
fucking
to
dangerous
escape.
thing in the moment.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I knew it would be
it's way
fucking
too innocent.
dangerous.
It's like, yeah, of course they're gonna turn the
Yeah.
cuteness on its head. But the cutesiness was great. Like when it has predator vision, it was rainbow. That cracked me up. It's like his predator vision is all cutesy. That's great. My wife wants a
Yeah.
Moopsy stuffy
Nope, she
now.
can't because she doesn't like lower decks. She can't have one. Tell her that.
I
Say
think we're converting her.
tell say Cheeto says you can't if you can't have it if you don't like lower decks.
I will let her know you said that, sir. Um, any like anything like else you guys want to say about the whole menagerie thing? I mean, I think we agree that's a little
Was
derivative.
that
It was a little
alien?
sitcom-y.
Is that the owner of the menagerie? Was he a recognized alien species? But he looked like
I
a
don't think
corn,
so.
He's
a
something
corn
he's a plant
with arms and
species.
legs.
They invented this plant species for this episode, but he's got
Well,
I'm not smart enough to know what ossified means. I should have looked it up, but I was lazy. It's probably a term about trees of like a support system, maybe a ribbed one like a palm tree. He did almost look like a palm tree.
Yeah, yeah.
But but no, it's just an interesting kind of invented species for this show, for this episode. But it is a little tropey, is easy to see through it. Probably the weakest part of this episode. Um, so then we have the Rutherford C plot, and uh, anything else you guys want to say about that? I mean, it kind of feels sitcom-y too,
What was
but
the
at
name
the
of
same.
the what? What was the name of his rival?
Oh,
starts
I've
with an
got it written.
L.
Lavic,
Yeah,
I've got it
Lavic or
written.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. You guys
Glavik.
get like think that they were gonna do something with like Lavic was reading his mind somehow by like maybe hacking through his implant
Ooh,
wirelessly?
that would have been good, but we would have had to have dedicated a whole episode to that.
Yeah,
But that would have been good. See, Mage,
these
you
could
should
have
be
been.
curse you, Alex Kurtzman.
No, I think you're onto something there that I hadn't thought of. These plot runners they're strong enough to each have been kind of their own episode, or at least their own A plot with
How
only
about
one B plot to them. This episode kind of suffered from a bit of too much going on, too many plot runners.
Yep.
yeah?
They do.
Personally,
They like to tend to have like 2 to 3 plots
And this
per
had like
episode.
4.
Yeah, and it's like you really They wait. What's the fourth? The
It'd be the
menagerie.
Shacks into the menagerie, Boimler and the quarters, Shacks and his
Yeah, you're
Ta'ana
right.
troubles and their holodeck things that
So
are off screen, and
and like if these were hour-long episodes, I'd be like, okay. But it's like, no, these are literally 25-minute episodes.
yeah,
There's just
it's
that sometimes they do that with these, and this episode felt like there were too many plots going on, and all of them were
yeah.
solid. I felt like none of them got enough time to be
exactly to really
worthwhile.
shine. And they could have been really good. There's a potential for a lot of good jokes in those. Zam, your thoughts?
Um, regarding.
About
Sorry, I
just
thought I
that.
already gave my thoughts.
Okay, you don't have. Do you have anything else to add about that kind of plot angle, the Rutherford plot? Lavic.
Oh, sorry, the Rutherford plot. Sorry, I apologize. Sorry,
No, it's all good. It's
um, I mean, he just wanted to get promoted, and he thought he could instantly, and then this guy comes out of nowhere. Was he human? Because he looked his skin looked a bit weird, like very grayish. I couldn't really tell, but it was a silly joke in a way. Like I'm trying to make things better, and I hope I can get promoted by it. But oh no, look, my opponent, he seems to be doing the similar thing somehow, and has made things better. And actually, he kissed my ass so much, he's named it after me as well. It was silly. Honestly, it was silly. But in the day, Rutherford turned out to be victorious. So I guess that's a good thing.
yeah. There wasn't really much to the Boimler and Shax's plots other than your Boimler can't find good quarters. There's little funny moments with him, a couple of Easter eggs there. The the Shax thing is kind of the same old, same old. He and Tana have this weird dysfunctional relationship, and she's kind of psychotic. Um, do you guys have anything, any thoughts about those plots of this episode other than, just maybe it was too much for one episode?
Yeah, absolutely. It knocked a couple points off for me. That I planned on. This one's definitely going to be lower than the initial.
Yeah, the more we talk about
Well,
this one, it's having that thing happen where my score moves down and down. Zam, how about you? Anything that stood
this did
out
feel
about
like a
those
longer
to you?
episode. This did feel like a longer episode. I'm not sure if you guys thought that was the case.
I know this episode needed more time. Like if this episode would have been 45 minutes, I would have been fine because you probably could have explored all those plots a lot better. But right now it's just like, yeah, they just kind of skirted by. Like all plots got enough time to not get enough time in a 25-minute episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is look, that's always the problem with when you have 25-minute episodes. But you know, I have to say it still did a reasonably good job. At least you can't complain about the pacing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
It was
you try to
snappy. You're
resolve.
right there.
I mean, I actually thought, yeah, I did actually think to myself, okay, now we're dealing with Rutherford as well, which became the third plot. I was thinking to myself, wow, there is a lot to do here, but I give them credit for doing as much as they could. So, um, yeah, I'm okay with it. My issue was more with the menagerie, if anything. Just being there, done it, worn the t-shirt kind of episode, so to speak, with Lower Decks. Regarding spooky museums and something tried to kill them and stuff like that. So yeah.
Um, so we'll start moving towards the end now. If you want to throw up the poll for this episode's
All right.
ranking,
Yep,
Cheetah,
already on it.
on it. See, that's why you're the guy in the chair. Um,
Yep, just
so
posted.
okay, there's some fun Easter eggs in this one. Did you guys catch the name of the one tubes that Rutherford was increasing the output on? We've heard of Jeffrey's tubes, but now we have in universe we have
I actually
Tucker
missed.
tubes.
Remind me.
Oh, Tucker
There's
tubes. Yeah.
Tucker
What's it called?
tubes. What do they do?
Oh
We don't know.
no.
The output's measured in Floridas. That's
Well,
all we know.
weren't those something that was on Enterprise though? Like I
Yeah,
think.
I had those tubes in engineering.
Yeah.
So I guess
I did, but were they in any other? Were they in any other shows? I don't remember. Maybe on Voyager. I think.
maybe.
I don't
But
remember. I'd have to go back and look.
just they near the end at the menagerie, another Easter egg is we see the some of the people from the planet, like where they have the ridiculous kind of skimpy outfits, even the men do, and they have the capital punishment planet where Wesley falls in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
Had some of those.
Yeah.
And we had some Boimler has a mirror Archer doll. He
Yeah,
calls the
Mirror
little
Archer doll. No, my Mirror Archer doll.
Oh, the larger when he drops them. But some great self-references too, like the Tindy and Boimler's boxes have various items. They're nods to different events on the show. Peanut hamper, the model Cerritos they made for the one episode. Anything overall you guys want to say about this episode, or we just want to do final thoughts
I,
from
I,
Art?
I just thought Boimler just trying to adjust to a new life was very good.
I think they didn't expand on that enough.
No, nowhere near enough.
And I know
That-
we'll probably get that in subsequent
Uh, but-
episodes, but I feel like that's where they were lacking in this episode.
With the holodecks being too loud and his room being in between two holodecks, as well as the nacelle beaming
like
into
the
his
Star
room.
Collector light, yeah. No, funny
Yeah,
stuff. Those
that-
jokes
that-
were funny, but they could have done more with it for sure.
And I have to admit that for me was like probably the more intriguing part. That particular plot, somebody having to make a subtle change, but it felt very significant for him. Having just to be in a different part of the ship. He hasn't left the Cerritos. He's still in there. But he's now no longer in the lower decks cabins. He's got his own place and
It's a rite of
all of this. So
passage, much like
yeah,
kind of moving
exactly.
into the dorm at university. It's kind of a rite of
Yeah,
passage sort of thing. Um, what would you give it for a mark, good sir?
I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Once again, I've yet to really come across a lower decks episode I didn't like. This episode wasn't perfect. Even the stuff that I thought were rehashed, I still enjoyed it. It was a bit cliche though, like the cute alien being an absolute killing machine. You know, um, yeah, and even the twist at the end, I saw that coming a mile off as well. Uh, yeah, so unfortunately, it gets a 7 out of 10 for certain things like that. Yeah, for sure.
Fair marks and fair points. Cousin Cheeto, final thoughts
I,
and a mark?
me and Zam are we're all syncing up today. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 as well. As I said, it lost an extra point just because episode 1 was really good, and this one just fell, as I said, too crowded in the plots.
And I feel like it wouldn't be maybe as obvious if we hadn't watched them one then the other. If there had been maybe space to breathe, it wouldn't be as obvious that there's just so much going on in this one that they kind of missed opportunities to explore and expand on things.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you're absolutely
Well,
correct there. Yes, Sam?
so just to also, the show after Lower Decks will be what, Discovery.
We have there is nothing announced currently, but Star Trek Day is tomorrow, September 8th. So there,
Got
I'm
a
sure
special on Paramount Plus.
yeah, I'm sure we're going to get announcements for things coming out. I mean, right now on the docket is Prodigy season 2, which may or may not be on Paramount Plus. From what I understand, because technically Prodigy has not been canceled; it's just been moved. Discovery, yeah, is kind of open ended when that's going to be coming out, but a lot of people are saying that it's going to be like late 2024, which is nuts. No more Picard.
Discovery.
Yeah, Discovery
I,
supposedly is really far off, is what I've been told. But
I
what
just
maybe
I
they'll
just,
announce tomorrow when we're looking at.
I just feel that with like some things feel like strategic, and they're giving us a double episode for the first week, which means that at some point they want to, when this wraps up and is finished, they want to get on to the next project.
But what
So
is there right now? Like Picard's
Yeah.
over.
yeah,
Picard's
Strange New
exactly.
over.
Worlds just ended
That's
and
what.
hasn't finished filming.
And we don't have a date for Discovery.
We don't have a
It's
date
not
for
coming
Discovery. I mean,
up.
maybe Discovery's coming sooner than everyone thinks. As I said, nothing's been confirmed. It's just rumors that due to the writer's strike and everything else, Discovery is going to be delayed until late 2024. I thought filming was finished on Discovery season 4 or 5. Sorry, Discovery season 5. But yeah, what else is there for Trek?
Yeah,
The Starfleet
but I
Academy
mean,
show's nowhere, not even started yet.
yeah, they did 2
Well,
episodes of
yeah.
Strange New Worlds in 1 week too. So it would
Did they?
make more sense if it was a concerted effort to move up. Maybe we're going to get a surprise announcement tomorrow that Discovery is right around the corner. And
Maybe.
they've
I
sped up to make that happen. But what would they gain by doing that?
I was about to say I don't know what they would gain because,
Yeah.
as I said, Strange New Worlds is far off. Like because it just happened. Um, yeah, no more Picard. Like, I mean, we might be coming up to a Trek lull, so we might have to dust off that highly logical podcast again and have to keep that going
Yeah.
after Lower
No.
Decks.
I'm absolutely down to do highly illogical podcast each week. I'll give it a mark, and we'll start to sign out.
Oh, you hadn't given up your mark?
I'm of like mind with you guys. This was a fairly funny episode. We see the new threat some more, but we don't really learn anything. It's a good adventure that's lower deck style, but it's derivative. We've seen it's the same thing with a different skin. It's a palette swap, to use a video game term, a menagerie for a museum, as Zam
Yeah.
very astutely pointed out.
Can, can I also
But
add that?
go for it.
I also add that in a way, come to think of it now, that even though it was all nice that Rutherford got his promotion, I almost wish to a degree that he didn't now, because it doesn't, like, I think that the like keeping things balanced like that it's not necessarily always a good thing. It might seem like cool for us. Oh yeah, look, they're all now lieutenant ensigns or whatever the fuck they are. Yeah, but it'd be nice maybe if it was a bit certain people are promoted, certain people aren't. That would be an interesting dynamic to have
I feel like
going forward.
I feel like Tendi was promoted early because she was, remember, she first walked onto the ship in the first episode. So technically she is the youngest of the ensigns that we have, like out of the four. You know, obviously Mariner's the oldest, but she also got demoted twice, I think. But, you know, so I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, she keeps getting demoted.
honestly, I felt like Rutherford should have been promoted last season. Like, but this is kind of what I'm talking about with the loose cannon, and it's stuff like this, like the promotions and stuff that makes it feel cartoony to me, which I'm okay with if they're doing the Simpsons format, which they always stay ensigns. We're always on zany adventures, you know, whatever. And as I said, I don't hate the fact that they're getting promoted, but you're right. You're bringing up the issues that make it feel more cartoony. Is like, hey, we're all getting promoted at the same time. That's not how real life works, you know, like. So I think honestly, Rutherford should have been promoted last season or the season before, and I feel like Blimler should have been. And I mean, I guess you could have done Mariner also this season. Tendi should have been next season sometime. Just to make it seem like it's a little bit more, real life.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But it's also a cartoon show in
Yeah.
a fantasy universe. So
Yeah. One thing I feel like they did do well this episode was kind of build on that the Mariner and Ransom relationship. I feel like it's going that kind of mentor direction, and I kind of like that. I hope it doesn't go anywhere other than that. But it's she wouldn't be able to like have that mature conversation with him and gain that lucidity from the insight he gave her in season one. We've seen her grow organically over the course of these seasons, and now her taking this advice and actually changing her behavior, is feasible. So that it just, I wish they had done more like that with this episode instead of cramming in the Boimler growth aspect in and just turning it into a couple of jokes. I'm also going to give it a 7. Um, so thank you to everybody in chat for joining us for another Star Trek episode review. It's been a joy to be here. Thank you to my co-hosts Zam and cousin Cheeto. Um, if you've liked this video, maybe give it a thumbs up. If you come later on and watch this as a VOD, leave us a comment below and let us know your thoughts on the episode. Were we on the money? Were we off the mark? Let us know your thoughts and opinions below. Maybe even consider subscribing to our feed if you've liked what you've seen tonight. We don't just talk about Star Trek here. Last night we had the Star Wars Ashoka review because we talk about Star Wars. Tomorrow night coming up, we've got our Friday night open forum podcast, The World Has Gone Insane. Let's chat about it. People hop in and out. We talk about various events from throughout the week, just general topics that chat wants to discuss, and just have a good old back and forth for a couple of hours. Zam, you want to tell us what's
Just
on the
want to put
docket for tomorrow?
Yeah, for a start, we're going to be talking about Ruby Frank. This is a Mormon mother who started a YouTube channel about disciplining her kids. She was arrested for starving her kids, having her kids malnourished, having her kids have had gaping open wounds. She has 6 kids, 2 sons and 4 girls. And I've seen some of the stuff on YouTube and TikTok, and it's disturbing. Um, Most famously, most notably, Hill versus Babyface. He is a renowned YouTuber who's part of the Fandom Menace Guild, and he lost his shit recently, and a lot of people have seen it viral because the game Starfield had pronouns in it, and that really pissed him off beyond belief. Like the openness regarding people despising trans people in any capacity, even when it's got nothing to do with them. In this particular case, it had nothing to do with them, but people associate pronouns with trans people is why this
This is
non-issue became an issue.
this is why
Yeah,
educating people about grammar is so important. They might realize that everybody
yeah.
uses pronouns. Newsflash.
If these
If
people,
you ever
yeah.
talk
I mean,
about your male buddy that's cis and you said, yeah, he went over yonder, guess what, buddy? You just used a pronoun. Congratulations.
Yep.
I'm not going to try
Yeah.
to teach you how to diagram a sentence.
A mix of
Wait a minute.
uneducated and
We're not
bigoted.
supposed to use sentences around here.
Because don't get me wrong, people like to mention education, but there are people who are highly educated and will be bigoted assholes regardless.
Oh yeah, no
You
doubt.
you can never curb their their intentions regarding how they feel about certain elements of society, and
Being a
education
garbage
won't necessarily
person,
do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
being a garbage person isn't limited to any social strata, education level, anything like that.
We're
It's
gonna
equal opportunity,
talk about
unfortunately.
briefly talk about Cheeto's favorite human being of all time, Elon Musk, and how the man who's an advocate for free speech is keeping absolutely quiet regarding a Saudi Arabian man who on Twitter did, did some tweets, and because of those tweets on Twitter, will now be executed in Saudi Arabia. And free speech advocate himself, Elon Musk, who said he bought Twitter for free speech, is not saying jack shit. Quiet as a fucking mouse. Um, Right. And
By the way,
and finally, by the way,
I support SpaceX, not Elon Musk.
okie dokie. Um, Rock and Oprah Winfrey, who are being lambasted by the general public because we have a multi-millionaire who's close to being a billionaire, and we have a billionaire in Oprah Winfrey. Both of them who live in Hawaii, have properties in Hawaii, are asking people like me and you, the general public, for donations to help rebuild Hawaii when these people have more fucking money than we could ever imagine, and people like ourselves are in the cost of living crisis where we're finding we're living paycheck to paycheck and finding it hard to fucking pay for our bills and shit. And these people, these billionaires,
Okay,
these
yeah,
super rich
they can tune in
fuckers
tomorrow to hear this. Come on, man. Like,
have the audacity to ask us for money. All right, that'll be on tomorrow.
Um, Sounds like
Sorry.
it's going to be a vigorous discussion tomorrow for sure. Lots of stuff that we get worked up about. I I'll try to
Yeah.
pop in myself. Um,
Yeah, regarding the Rock and Opera, we are just going to maybe look at the reactions to that as well as give our opinion because the reactions to that is what's fascinating. There's a lot of pissed off people.
yeah, a lot of pissed off people in general right now, but we are going to sign off for now. Thank you for coming by this evening. Thank you for everybody. Your loyalty to the channel. We would be nothing without you, the fans. Have a great night and live long and prosper. You've been watching NerdTube, the greatest channel you maybe sort of kind of heard of. Bye.
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 Oh yeah, that's me, isn't it?